Hello, everyone. My name is George Diaz, president and founder of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing and a Confusionsoft certified consultant. I bring you another episode of Defining Infusionsoft Success. I'm fortunate to have Benji Raban on today. He is the founder, owner of Appointment Core. He'll probably get a little bit more precise than that when I have him introduce myself. I found out that he is also a New York Times bestseller author. He wrote a book called Convert. I have to read my notes. Convert Every Click. Just little trivia kind of things. So I thought I'd mention that. But Benji, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, first off, thank you, George, for having me on here. I've watched most of your videos, and I'm excited to be here. So, so a little bit about myself. I am a trained developer and designer, and caught onto it really early in life. I was about 11 years old when I got my first client, and was fortunate that my dad was just bragging about me at the time and caught me onto one of his friends who needed a site. You know, this is in the 90s, and built it up and just continued to evolve over the years. Appointment Core's history is a little more specifically was, in 2004 I had a marketing agency. We did things like typical marketing agency stuff. So, from car wraps and banners and flyers and to websites and landing pages and email marketing. We would even help some stores in Orlando. We were based in Orlando, Florida at the time. We'd help stores, build out their actual food items and menus and organize everything in certain ways for restaurants. It was really very much a full service, more traditional, old fashioned. It could have existed 50 years earlier if the website portions of it wasn't part of the service.
Right.
And so at that time, one of our customers actually told us about Infusionsoft, and they said that it was awesome, and it was really gave them and empowered them to build things in their marketing that were only ideas prior to that. They just weren't very technical, and they didn't have a huge budget to work with for that stuff. And so for them, Infusionsoft was this revolution. It was a huge thing, and so we took a look at it. We learned a lot about it, and that was probably 2007, 2008.
So you guys were in there early.
Yeah, and Infusionsoft was a lot smaller at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And, at some point in there, they created a program called CMAX. I think it stood for Certified Marketing Automation Consultants, which is a lot like
it's the partner program today.
ICP, partner program of today. They made you take a test and all this stuff. So we did that. We were one of the early CMAX. And Infusionsoft at the time was using us sort of as one of the main people when a customer had a complex problem. So let's say they had something that came from the enterprise, an enterprise tool, or it came from a set of 10 different tools and they're consolidating it into Infusionsoft. Or they had some weird challenge that was unique to their industry that was going to require a lot of complex code or complex solutions. They would come to us for those things. Oftentimes after already going to somebody else and it not working out, they would say, go with this company instead, and that was us.
Right.
And so that was sort of how our relationship with Infusionsoft began early on. So then, as time went on, we started to notice some trends in the market, and specifically Infusionsoft community. The trends were things where a lot of developers were developing these custom solutions for their customers. They would say, oh, we need this one little custom solution. They would have this little app, and they would realize they could sell that app for more money if they sold it to a bunch of people, and they would adapt it into a more
they productize it versus just making it a one-off.
Exactly, which was really smart of them to do. And that was the majority of the sort of app market at the time. And so, we saw a hole and an opportunity in the market where we had a little bit more of a unique situation that we could work with, which was that no one was solving the harder, more complex problems. And mostly it was because those problems would really require you to solve them from the ground up rather than as sort of a tool, right? You'd really have to think about it. Otherwise, it would only fit a select small percentage, 10% of the market, right? And so no one really had at the time in the market the same, we just had more team size. We had over 30 people at the time, many of which were developers. We had, we were fortunate to have a lot of really great customers in the enterprise space. We had come from the enterprise space and experience, and I just really didn't like it as much as I enjoy working with small businesses. And so, we said, hey, let's sit down and let's start to, as a side business, let's start to create some of these solutions for people that no one else is solving. And so we made a few of these apps. They all went really well. They grew very quickly, and that was in 2011 that we announced the bigger of those apps.
Yeah. By the way, now you're getting into like I didn't start with Infusionsoft until 11, so I know exactly kind of the space. There was no campaign builder. They had just returned to requiring what they call kickstarts now, because they were having churn issues. So that was actually a kind of a growing point.
Yeah, and they had experimented with like free trials. They'd done some really interesting things in that range, and that was right before, you're right, when they came out the campaign builder. So you really kind of needed somebody to get you through the confusing parts of Infusionsoft.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now you know they have a better onboarding process than they did then.
For sure.
And so we took that. We built these apps. They were, no one else was competing with them at the time because honestly, it was a resource thing. I think we just had more resources, and it made it a little bit easier for us to do them. And then very soon after, we got approached by Infusionsoft, and they said, "Hey, we want to be able to offer this stuff to our customers, and we just want to buy you." And so they actually acquired all those tools, and they bought us. They brought all the software in house. And part of the deal in the negotiations, I was actually able to keep our team. So we actually I retained our team and gave them the technology, and then they did what they wanted with it. So that was 2012 that happened, the end of the year 2012, and they announced it in 2013.
So Appointment Core is post that?
So Appointment Core is after that. So Appointment Core came from late 2012, us brainstorming around, we solved all these problems. What is literally the biggest problem in the Infusionsoft space? What is the one thing that nobody seems to be solving, that no other companies have the ability to solve, and why is that, and what is the actual problem? And when we looked at our list of, all the things, I'm the kind of person that keeps lists of ideas and stuff like that. We looked at all these ideas, and we said, the one common trait amongst all these is really scheduling, anything related to scheduling. And the thing about scheduling is that when you say that to somebody, what we found in those interactions with customers from our other applications was that scheduling meant something different to everyone.
Yeah, no,
you
for sure.
Literally, it's unbelievable. When we say that, even today, this day, we say scheduling, we solve scheduling problems. They go, oh, like this? And the answer nowadays is yes, but at the time, it was a different question every single time. So when someone says scheduling, you can have two companies in the same industry competing directly against each other with the same prices and the seemingly same business models, and what they think scheduling means and how they like to schedule and their preferences and their quirks around scheduling and the size of their team, completely different. The way that they do it, always different. And it's amazing. I'm always, even to this day, still surprised at how different, how niche it is. And the part that's always so fun for me is that they always think that their situation is the way everyone else does it. They don't realize
really?
They don't realize that the way that they schedule things, if it's part of their success, for their business, or it could even be part of, if they do it poorly, they could be part of why they're not growing as fast as they could be, right?
Right.
And they don't realize that is unique to them. And that might be part of their formula. That might be part of whether it's a good formula or not.
Yeah, it's either their mojo or their boat anchor, right?
Exactly. And so every single time that someone, comes up and says, oh, what do you do, or what does the software do? It's hard to explain because the real way to do it is to find out how they schedule right now, and then go from there. So that's the idea.
No, and again, I've been using it now for 2 years, and I was really impressed back. It might be over 2 years now, but I was very impressed with the way that your team had made some really cool enhancements to Appointment Core for a customer I had taken on, where they could set an appointment, charge, and then if the charge didn't go through, it released the appointment, which I thought was really novel, because when they were telling me, I go, Appointment Core doesn't do that. And they're saying, yes, it does. And as a matter of fact, that's when I first met Ted and one of your other guys who became my interface, and he was explaining to me and supporting the work that we were doing. But yeah, and that's when I understood. I go, look, there's plenty of ways to do scheduling. In a lot of cases, and I want to say the most common one that we run into is, hey, I want to have people be able to sign up for X amount of appointments that I make available on my calendar, and then that will lead to a meeting, sales-related meeting typically. Matter of fact, that's the way I use that. That's the way I meet up with people that find me on the site.
Right. Yeah. And that's the problem we call the back and forth problem. So there's all these categories we try to book all those unique, quirky situations into these categories. And so you're talking about the one of sending emails back and forth. What time's good for you? Oh, this time's good.
Yeah.
Oh no, this time doesn't work for me. And that's surprisingly still commonplace for most people. And so by creating this this interface for them where you put in all your rules and you tell them, it's kind of like your assistant. You say, here's my preferences, here's my quirks, I want to have this much time after the meeting and between meetings, and I want this to happen, and I want this to happen, and I only want it to go onto this calendar, and I want it to show up in this thing, and I want to send them an email, and all these different things. Each person can design it the way they want, and then they put it into the software, and it just does it from then on in a consistent way.
Yeah, and
that's really part of it.
And I tell you what, for me, because my sales funnel is so based on, or so dependent on people going to my site and showing an interest in meeting with me. So I would basically just do it manually at the beginning. And switching over to Appointment Core took a lot of, how do I get comfortable with this? Because it's kind of like, okay, this is my bread and butter. And I was amazed because before I used to have to, and I made this was high priority. It's like, hey, let's make sure that I interact with them, or if not, I had one of the people on my team do it. But to have Appointment Core set the appointment, and I'm just getting a notification, hey, someone just showed up Tuesday at 5 o'clock, or whatever, is a huge benefit for me. And that's just a real simple one-person sales project, but not having to deal with, and in the emails that I sent out, I said, hey, if you'd like to call me, go ahead, or if not, click here. I don't think anybody ever calls.
No, because it's the amount of times that you have to revisit your calendar if you're going back and forth, or the amount of time you have to take to try and catch somebody on the phone, it's just 10 times more time than you would spend if you just click on someone's link, Appointment Core link, and then book an appointment, and if you know in advance that person is basically pre-approved this structure based on their preferences, that those times are real, it puts that stuff right into their calendar, puts it into your calendar, and sets everything up, and it's just, you don't have to worry about it. So it's taking the game of scheduling as an actual thing out of your experience. It makes it something that's just like in the past. And I wish I could say a few things. One, I wish I could say that scheduling was solved already, or would have already been solved by now. But the reason it hasn't been is because it's so different for everyone. And then on the other side of it, I wish I could I could just change the law and get rid of time zones. Because time zones for people, it makes no sense. And a lot of people don't like it. And it's very confusing, and it's really what causes problems. So companies with national, presences or international presences, they have to constantly think and do math and stuff. It's like, they say at school, you have to do math. When you grow up, what all they're really saying is that occasionally you have to answer some tax questions, and every single day you're going to have to convert stuff in time zones. The whole point of our product initially was let's at least get rid of that as a problem. That's the biggest thing that everybody complains about, is just trying to figure out and do the math. So no more math. Get rid of the math. We can't change the law, but we can get rid of the math, and then sort of evolve from there.
Yeah.
So
and especially times like now, Arizona doesn't change their time, and we change, and they become mountain, and what a headache.
Right. It's so confusing, and we only had to solve that once, and then now it's solved for everybody. And they don't even have to. It doesn't even ask them what time zone they're in. Our software just automatically
it figures it out
on your computer. Right. It just knows what time zone you are based on your computer and your internet, and it just shows you the times in your own time zone, so you don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah. So let me ask you. You guys have recently released version 5.0, right? So again, I've been very happy. There are other products that I'm very involved in, and I'm like one of those guys that's saying, hey, I need this, I need this, I need this. And, except for maybe payment integration, I don't have too many with Appointment Core, but I'm sure you guys are responding to a lot of your power users.
Yeah, for sure. That's the sort of story of how our features are and where we have gone. It starts with in 2013, when we first launched, we actually went up against 80 other apps in a thing called the Battle of the Apps for Infusionsoft. Right. Which is roughly 1,000, 2,000 people vote for it.
What year?
That was 2013. So that year was, I always say that so we ended up winning it, was the end of the story. We won that, got first place, which was a big honor. But the real honor for me personally was actually the fact that one of the people that was competing against me was a company called Zapier, which most people now know. Yeah, most people now know it. I look up to them. I think they're great. It's a great company, great idea. It solves a lot of problems. And so, we're up, against them, and they got second place and we got first. And so for me, knowing that was, the situation, I felt a lot of, it was sort of like we're onto something here. We really are solving a problem that no one's solved yet.
Yeah, and they validated your idea. And by the way, I can kind of see that, not because Zapier is not a great tool, because it is, but because it's more abstract. Someone as a developer appreciates it, but everybody has appointments. So I could see that being the driver.
Everybody has appointments. They all have appointment problems, and we're the only scheduling tool to this day that has built our tool from the ground up for Infusionsoft customers. And so as we evolve and we grow and we put more features, we are listening to the customers, the Infusionsoft customers, the Infusionsoft employees, the partners, and when they request something, they get priority. Like their vote actually means something.
Sure.
Because that's how we grow. That's our market. We're an enterprise tool that is, we've put a lot of money and time and energy into building this tool and make it scalable. Even in this conversation, we've had hundreds of people booking appointments through our tool. But in that process, we wanted to make sure we could do it at small business pricing and keep it, continually growing. So the point of that was to answer your original question, which is 5.0. What's going on with 5.0? What does that mean? So around then, when we won that competition in 2013, we had somewhere around 100 features, which was still a lot, compared to any other solutions that were out there. It solved most of the issues. I would say probably 60 to 80% of the issues that are common in the Infusionsoft space for scheduling challenges. Whether it's a team environment where they're trying to distribute a bunch of appointments to different people from one page, or they've got one person and he's just a salesperson, or they got a customer service rep who is just trying to take somebody from a ticketing system onto an actual meeting and doesn't want to have to go back and forth in the tickets and create a bunch of unnecessary tickets. Whatever the situation was, we were covering most of that. But since then, that was 100-ish features. Since then, we're actually now at over 300 features. And so a lot's evolved. We've had a pretty consistent growth and development in that space. And frankly, a lot of people don't know about them because I'm a developer. I don't develop this code. It's honestly over my head at this point. But I'm a developer at heart. I'm an idea guy and a developer at heart. So for me, I really like to focus on making the product high quality and making the product really great. And it's organically grown because of that. But we didn't do a great job in the past of telling people when we came out with new features and stuff like that.
No, and you guys are one of those. Oh, they do scheduling, and then most people don't dig into it until I'm a consultant, so we're in there, and we have a customer that says, hey, can we do scheduling like this? And it's kind of like I look into Appointment Core to make sure that it can support a feature like that. But most people just kind of really see it at the higher end. So if I have an Appointment Core application, would I see new things then pop up? Is that how it works?
Yeah. So most of the time, when we release something, we have our whole process. We kind of go through a more enterprise level process where we build out a feature and then it goes through alpha testing, then it goes through beta testing. But then we release it to a handful of customers who are usually the more active power user type customers. And then after a couple of months or so, depending on whenever we're sure the bugs are out, we're sure it's stable, we're sure it's great, and it's going to cover, for us, it's also about making the feature work for a lot of different situations, right? We don't want it to just be like a little we try to avoid any kind of hacky things, right? And so we build this thing, we make it scalable, we say, okay, great, this is good enough for everyone, then we just push it out. That was how we used to handle it. We would just push it out. And so we just show up for people, and we get emails in our customer service department all the time that said, hey, I saw this new thing. That's awesome. I haven't heard about this. How was it? And then they'd all look up at me, and they'd go, Benji, come on, you wrote a book on conversion and marketing, and you don't even tell anyone about your own stuff. And it's true. I mean, that's the thing. So 5.0 really for us is largely about really letting people know, one, that there's 150 features they may or may not know about, depending on when they did stuff, signed up with us. But also that there's 50 brand new features as part of 5.0 that nobody knew about, or very few people knew about, because most of them weren't released to the public at all yet.
Yeah, they were more like part of, because I know you had an enterprise versus like the, I guess, retail, for lack of a better word.
Right. So we have our Appointment Core for us is 100% for Infusionsoft customers. Our pricing is based on small business pricing. It's an inclusive model where we, basically throw in all the kinds that you can see in this thing behind me, like, Google Calendar, Outlook, Exchange, GoToMeeting. We've got, Zapier and, Office 365. All these things, WebEx, they come with software. You don't pay extra for them. Okay. So that in general that's always been the case. Yeah. We try to do that. We have had some specific features that we had been building custom for some of our enterprise clients. We have clients like Zappos and Amazon and Blue Cross Blue Shield, and these are teams of hundreds of people, right? Sure. They just found us randomly because we're really just targeting Infusionsoft customers, and they went into this sort of custom and enterprise side of things. And so now what we're doing is we're also giving the small business people access to a lot of these enterprise features without having to pay anything extra to get them. Yeah.
Cool, cool. And then so these are, okay, so those are now available. What ballpark, what's the price point now?
Well, so, price point is the same it's been since the day we launched.
Really? Okay.
And, one day we're still a tenth of the price of, fifth to a tenth of the price of our competitors, but we have yet to actually raise our prices. Even if we do one day, which we probably will one day, it's still really low. So I'll tell you about it. So right now, for example, for 5 users, it's $47, and it comes with all those integrations we talked about before, all 300 plus features.
So the pricing is based on the pricing is based on the number of seats. Gotcha.
Yeah, number of seats, and we've aligned it sort of with an Infusionsoft, the models, a 2-user and a 5-user and a 10-user, and then
no, that
as
makes
you go
sense.
up from there, then but yeah, that's how it works.
That's
so, in general, I don't think we have time to go over all the features,
no.
Today, but there is a 30-day free trial on the site that we've had always, and so you can go in there and just try it out and just check it out and let us know if you need any help on it.
And that's handy. I've actually, when I started using it, I used it that way, and that made a big difference because now it's like, okay, it really does what I need it to do, and then you can start paying it only, and 30 days kind of gives you enough time to play with it. So very good.
Right, and in general, our goal is to overall solve, eventually solve all of the problems of scheduling, right? But there's literally like thousands of specific, quirks. So we've actually gotten to a point now where 90% of all the quirks or specific situations that people have, really, we solve them. We solve them now, especially when it comes to small business. So the things that we don't solve, for example, that's part of that 10%. We're not a shift management tool, right? We're not a scheduling. We're not someone that restaurant is going to use to trade shifts between employees. We're more of an external, or even internal team and scheduling tool. It's not really built for shift management. So that's an example of something that we probably. Don't get me wrong, people have, found a way to use our software for that, but that's really not what it's for, right?
Right.
It's really more for solving the prospecting process and the sales process, or the appointment-centric yoga, class course kind of process where you have a bunch of people joining in a class,
sure.
That kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Very good. Well, hey, Benji, thank you for sharing all this information about it. So if people want to get a hold of you guys, how would they reach you?
So the best way is to sign up for the free trial, get in there, and if you ever need any help, we've got 24-hour customer support email address, and ask us at appointmentcore.com, ASKUS at appointmentcore.com. And if you want to talk to somebody on there, you just let them know, and we can chat, get on a phone with you. We can do demos for you, whatever you want us to do. We're really there to help answer and keep those customer support satisfaction ratings up at 90 to 100%. So that's our goal.
Great. Well, thank you very much for spending some time. We'll make sure to kind of put some of that information there when we publish this on the blog. And hey, I appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having us, and look forward to next time.
Okay. Take care.
All right. Thanks, George. Talk to you soon.